Designed by architect Richard Meyer, the 110-acre Getty Center houses the J. Paul Getty Museum, the Getty Research Institute, the Getty Conservation Institute, and the Getty Foundation. 86 acres of landscaped gardens and terraces, including the central garden designed by artist Robert Irwin, provide sweeping views of the Los Angeles basin, the mountains, the ocean, and the surrounding 600 acres preserved in their natural state. Park your car and take the tram 3/4 of a mile to the top of the hill. The driverless computer-operated tram ride takes about 5 minutes and is emission-free and glides on a cushion of air generated by electric blowers. This is the only tram system of its kind on the west coast of the United States.
So my name is Liz. We'll be together for about 45 minutes. We'll be all on this level. There's no stairs, no hills. Piece of cake. Yeah, I'm sorry. So we start our tour at the sycamore tree because it was J. Paul Getty's favorite tree. So the architect Richard Meyer made sure that he would have a sycamore tree to welcome everybody as they came here. So, of course, a bust of J. Paul Getty. Got to say thank you to the people with the money, otherwise maybe you don't get a museum. So we say thank you to him. And over here, there's a photo of him. And I've looked at a lot of photos of him, and I'm still looking for the one where he's smiling. I haven't found it yet, but I'm on the search. So the artist's interpretation of abalone shells. Now, we have never had a display hanging from the ceiling here in the visitor center before. So this is really very special. And it will be here until the summer coming up next year. There's an acrylic on the windows behind it. And you can see that the acrylic gives us some colors on the floor here, which is really very special. Right up top, you'll see the artist's interpretation of where she comes from, which is the southern part of the Channel Islands being just off the coast here. And that's where she's from. Straight ahead of us, it's hard to tell right now, but this is a sliding glass door, similar to the one that you may have on your patio. Maybe this one's a little larger in size than the one you have at home. And it was made by the Boeing company, who knows how to do great big things that move. So I bring you out here to show you this view. This is a part of LA called Brentwood, Bel Air. It's a very pish-tosh area of LA. And that kind of comes into our story as we go. I wanted to talk briefly about how you got here today. You probably came in a car and you went into the parking and you drove around and around and around until you found that perfect parking place. And then you got on the tram. You took an elevator first. Then you got on the tram and came up here. And the tram goes about 15 miles an hour, a 7% grade. And it was made by the Otis elevator people who knew how to do this. Now they know how to do that. So we're grateful to them. And then you came up the stairs and you notice the stairs are not very tall, but they're deep from front to back. They're a replica, or the idea was stolen from the Vatican. The Vatican has stairs like that, and they made them like that because there's a lot of people at the Vatican who wear clothes down to their ankles, and they didn't want them to trip on the stairs. And so that's why the stairs are like that. Most places, air conditioning, they pull air in the front and they throw it out the roof. But ours, it comes in the roof, it comes through the galleries and goes out the doors. So it's different. And it keeps a lot of the ashes and leaves and stuff like that when there's a fire from having a problem. And this backwards air conditioning system is really good for the people who come in at night and clean things because they don't have a lot of dust to deal with because of that system. If you go all the way to the North Pavilion, even further, the north end of this project, you will see a helipad. And underneath the helipad is a place where we store water so that in case of fire, or when the next fire happens, the fire department can come and sit down on the helipad, put the helicopter's little whatever it is down into the helipad stuff, suck up the water, and go and help put out the fires. We have 100,000 gallons of water in that underneath the helipad. So this stuff is called Travertine. It's a kind of a limestone. This particular Travertine comes from a place outside of Rome, Italy, a quarry called Bagno di Tivoli. And over thousands of years, critters and leaves and things got caught in the Travertine as it was forming. And we get the results of it here. And as you walk around the Getty, pay attention to both the walls and the ground. You will see fossils, maybe not right here, but as you walk around, they're there. The Travertine, in the quarry there, they made a whole wall of this stuff fall down, and then they cut it like a loaf of bread and used a guillotine to chop at it so that it fell open on the natural fissures and revealed things like this in it. Now, you see on the pillar over here that the Travertine is only like 3 or 4 inches thick. So this is what they call cladding on the building. It's like clothing. It's just on the outside and it's decorative. Inside of this is the usual steel and concrete in almost all commercial buildings. And I was here with an engineer from Florence, Italy, and mentioned that, and he said, and I said to him, you know, these are all hanging on hooks. And he said, well, of course. Otherwise, the weight of the ones up there would crush the ones at the bottom. And I thought, oh, I never thought about that. So behind this is some space. Part of that space is for when it rains, and it does that occasionally in LA. And the sheets down behind here goes underneath and is transmitted to the north end where we put it in the water storage under the helipad. The rocks here are from Gold Rush country, and it's always nice to have the sound and the view of water. Some years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, we were really seriously in a drought situation and they turned off all the water. And it's just much less fun when you can't hear it and see it. And of course, there's the people who say this rock over here reminds them of the Starship Enterprise. About 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a little more, they did one of the more recent Star Trek movies, and the Getty Center was a stand-in for Starfleet Academy. I want to talk to you for a minute about the inside. When they were planning this, the architects had boxes made. And they had them put like postcards around the inside of the boxes so that he could put his head in and look around and see what that gallery was going to look like to visitors coming to see it. And he said, well, the walls will be in my favorite color. And the people at the Getty said, no, we think we're going to do it a little different. So they hired a special person to create wall coverings and paint in the different galleries so that it would be a different look. They also, the architect created the ceilings. Now, you'll notice that the galleries here, all of the buildings are 2 stories. That's all. So that you can go up to the 2nd floor, walk up or elevator, take a look around. You get tired of seeing art, you come down not very far, you come out into the California sunshine again. So it's perfect. The architect said we should have natural light hitting the paintings, but we don't want it to hit the painting, just illuminate the paintings. Because if the light hits the painting, pretty soon you don't have a painting anymore. So what they did is they put glass in the ceilings, and the light came in, and they put louvers in the ceiling, so that as the sun came in, the louvers would move and redirect the sunlight away from the paintings. Works perfectly. Yeah, great idea, huh? And there's another thing that you may want to notice as you're walking around and you go into the galleries. In your house, at the end of the door, you have the hinge. The hinge is between the door and the wall. But here, the hinge is about that far away from the wall on the doors that you go in. So it's a different kind of a door, and it was what the architect wanted. So they had to hire a special engineer to create that. They had a budget. The budget was about $250 million. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, $250 million sounds like a lot of dollars. But they found out very quickly that it was not going to be enough to build this place, even though it was quite a while ago. It was in, they started in the late 70s into the 80s. We opened in 1997. So after a while, they said, okay, $480 million. And they took a deep breath and they sat down with the architect and they said, maybe Travertine, coming from Italy, 100 shiploads through the Panama Canal, maybe there's an alternative. Maybe we should use stucco. And the architect said, we're not using stucco here. This is going to be a destination in LA. We're not using stucco. So they said, okay, 730. And everybody took a deep breath and continued. When they were finished, this place topped out at $1.3 billion. We're very happy with this place, those of us who come here regularly, and we think it's worth every penny of it. Of course, that's for the buildings. That does not include the art and does not include the garden. And if you have not been to the Central Garden yet, I encourage you to see that. It is a work of art. The person who created it, Robert Irwin, said it is a sculpture in the form of a garden, aspiring to be art. And the Getty says it is a work of art, and he's given them an accession number to the garden. So it is astonishing.